Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to dive into an essential concept in Java programming, methods. So, understanding methods is the key to writing clean and reusable code. By the end of this video, you'll understand how to define and use methods in your Java programs. Let's get started. Okay, so this is my IntelliJ IDE that is already open. First, let's quickly talk about what a method is. In Java, a method is a block of code that performs a specific task. So methods help us organize our code into smaller and manageable pieces, and they make our code reusable. In our last video, we learned how to create our very first Java program, and we wrote our code inside the main method. This one. Okay, so let's create a new Java class to demonstrate methods. I'll call this class method example. So what I'll do is I'll simply right click, new Java class. I have to type my class name. Let me give it method example. Okay, and I'll simply press the enter key. All right, so my new class has been created. Okay, and all classes start with the capital letter as I've already demonstrated in my last lecture. All right, so inside this class we'll start with the main method, which is the entry point of any Java program. Now let's define a simple method. What I'll do is I'll simply copy and paste this main method from this class instead of typing it manually. Okay, I'll type this ending. Yeah, okay. So now I'll define a simple method. This method will print a greeting message, so I'll call it printGreeting. I can give this method any name. So to define a method, we start with the access modifier. I'll have to create this method outside this main method, but within my class. So I'll click here, I'll press enter key. Okay, one more enter. Yeah, so I'll type as public void print greeting. I'll type starting parenthesis, ending parenthesis, and I'll type these curly braces. Okay, so this is my empty method for now. It does not have any body. Okay, so let us deconstruct it. So to define a method, we start with an access modifier, which is public. Okay, there are other access modifiers like public, private, protected, or default. Okay, and for now we'll use public. And if you're a beginner, you won't be able to understand what are these access modifiers, what is this public, and all those things, and that's okay. And we will discuss access modifiers in a later video. Next, we specify the return type of a method. In this case, it is void. Okay, so it means I'm not returning any value from my method. In Java, either it will return something or it will not return something. In our case, we don't want to return anything, so we use void. Then we provide the method name. This is my method name. Okay, so we provide the method name followed by a parenthesis. Inside the parenthesis, we can define parameters if we want, but we'll leave it empty for now. So this is my simple method, public void print greeting. Let me type some body here. I'll type System.out.println, and I'll have to type something. Okay, I'll simply type hello. Welcome to Java programming. Okay. All right. So this method will print the message, hello, welcome to Java programming when called. And in simple words, we have to call this particular method in order to execute this particular output to my console. Now, to call this method, we simply write the method name followed by parenthesis inside the main method. It's because the execution starts, and we can say execution begins with the main method and it will execute all the code line by line. This is how we'll call our method. Firstly, we'll create an object of this class using the new keyword. Okay, let me just create an object of this class. This is the class name. I'll create object method example equal to new method example. So this is the syntax of creating an object. Okay, yeah. And don't worry if you are not able to understand at this particular moment what are classes and what are objects, and we are learning Java step by step. And for now, just remember that we have to create an object of a class to call a defined method, which is print greeting. Okay, now I'll use this particular object. Yeah, okay. So this is how I'm actually calling our method. So what I'll do is I'll simply right click and I'll run. Okay, let's see. Perfect. So we just got this output as hello, welcome to Java programming. All right, and that's it. So we can see the output has been printed in the console, and that's our first method in action. Also notice that our method is empty parenthesis. Okay, it means it does not have any parameter defined because it was a simple method and its purpose was just to print some text to the console. Okay, now let's say we want to add two numbers. So we'll create a method with parameters. In this case, we'll define a method. We can say any name. Let's call it addNumbers. So I'll say public void addNumbers. This time I want to add two numbers, right? So I'll give two parameters, int a, int b, because I'm interested in adding two numbers and they are of type integer. Okay, first number is a, second number is b. So method body always starts with this brace and it ends with this brace. All right. So what I want to do inside is I want to add the two numbers, and resultant should also be an integer. So I'll call it, let's say, sum, which is a third variable, and I want to add a plus b. Again, I have to use a semicolon. All right. Now what I want to do is I'll simply want to output it to the console. So I'll do System.out.println and I'll simply type sum. Okay. So this is how our sum method looks like. This method takes two integers, int a, int b. It adds them and simply prints the result. So we can say it is highly customizable. So we can give any two integers and it will add them. And to call this method, we pass the arguments inside the parenthesis. Okay. So I'll use the same object. Okay. And I'll do like this, method example dot. Okay. Notice that we can see our method here. So I don't even have to type the complete name. I'll simply use the down arrow key, press enter. Now I'll have to pass any two numbers that we want to add. For now, let me just give 5 as my first number, 10 as my second number. Okay, right. Let me run this program again. So I'll simply right click. Okay, instead of right clicking, what I'll do is I can click on this green button and I'll click on this. Okay, so firstly, it has executed this printGreeting method and we have got this particular message in the outcome. And now we are adding these two methods and now we see this output as 15, which is 5 plus 10. Okay, so we have just learned how to create methods that doesn't take any parameters and even those methods that take one or more parameters. Now, let's talk about why methods are so useful and how creating reusable methods can help us write better code. Imagine we need to perform the same task multiple times in different parts of our program. So instead of writing the same code over and over again, we can define a method once and call it whenever we need it. That's why we say methods are reusable. So this not only saves us time, but also makes our code more organized and easier to maintain. Let's look at a more practical example. Suppose we need to calculate the area of a rectangle, let's say multiple times in our program. So instead of writing the same code multiple times in our program, we can create a reusable method for this. Okay. Again, I'll create this method outside the main method, but within my class. So I'll simply click here, I'll press enter, I'll do public. This time I want to return something. I want to return the area of a rectangle, right? So I'll do something like this. This area, I know that it is an integer. So instead of using void this time, I'm using an integer. Okay. And the method name is calculateArea. And yeah, method name always starts with a lowercase. Okay. Parenthesis, and this is the method body. Okay. Now I want to calculate the area and I'll specify length and breadth. Okay. So I'll do int length, which is my first parameter, and then int width, which is my second parameter. Okay. Now what I want to do is I want to return something. That is why I'm getting this error, because I'm using this return type, but as of now I'm not returning anything from this method. So what I'll do is I'll simply do return length times width, and as simple as that, and I'll simply use semicolon. Okay, so I'm not getting any error. Okay, so this method takes the length and width as the parameters and it returns the area of the rectangle as the output. Now we can call this method whenever we need to calculate the area of a rectangle and as many times as we want without the need to duplicate our code again and again. Okay, so let's say if I want to calculate my area of a rectangle, let's say multiple number of times, I'll do like this. Okay, let me just, int area 1. Again, it's the name of my variable. It can be anything. What I will do is I'll use the same object, which is this, say method example dot calculate. I'll simply press enter. And I want to calculate, let's say, area of a rectangle, which is length is 5 and width is 10. Okay, I'll semicolon here. Okay, now once the area is calculated, it is going to be collected in this variable. And what I'll do is I'll simply print it in the console, System.out.println of area 1. Okay, so that's it, right? And suppose if I want to calculate this area again, right, with different length and different width, what I'll do is I'll simply copy and paste instead of area1, we cannot declare the same variable multiple times. So I'll do int area2, and this time instead of passing length as 5, let me use length as 3 and width as length as 7 and width as 3. And again, I have to print area2 this time, same area, this one. Okay, now what I'll do is I'll simply right click, I'll click on run method. Okay, so first time it has printed 10 into 5 is 50 and second time 7 into 3 is 21. Perfect. So by using a reusable method, we have avoided writing the same code twice and made our program easier to understand and easier to maintain. And if you want to make some modification, it's at just one place. So in case if I want to make any changes to my, let's say, calculateArea method, what I'll do is, this is the only place that I'll have to make the modification rather than making this code change again and again in case of a duplication. Okay, so if you want to make some modification, it's at just one place, and that's how it is so reusable and better to avoid code duplication. Now, let's explain how concatenation works in System.out.println statements. If you have observed, currently I'm just printing this area1 into my console, but I can do something like this also. Okay, I'll use area1, I'll do a space, I'll do this area of 1. Okay, now what is this concatenation basically? So concatenation is the process of joining two or more strings together. In Java, we use this plus operator to concatenate two strings. So this is my first and this is my second. And I use this plus or the concatenation operator to join them. Okay, so whatever we write inside this double quotes is actually considered as a string in Java. Okay, so this is my string. Now we want to append this string with the actual area, and I want to print this into my browser console. So that's why I've used plus operator to append the value of area1 with this particular string. Okay, now, and if I'll run it, see what's going to happen. This is how my output should look like. Area1 is the static string what I have used, and this is the value of this variable that has been calculated because of this method that has been appended with this string, which is called as area1, and it is printed in the console. And concatenation can be very useful for creating meaningful output. For example, we could print multiple variables in one statement. Here is another example. I can do something like this: int length equal to 5 semicolon, int width equal to 10 again semicolon. I can do System.out.println. So since I'm using double quotes, this is my string that I'm using, followed by a length and a space. It's not required to have a space, but I'm just keeping it so that my output is more readable. So I'm concatenating it, so that's why I'm using this plus operator, and I'll do length. This is the same variable that I've just declared, plus again I'm using this string, and I'll use a space here also, and then I can use width colon space plus I can do this width, which is my actual variable. Okay, and then plus I can do area of 1. All right, so I can do like this, area plus, and let's see if I'll right click and click on run method. See this output. Length is 5, width is 10, and area is 50, which is the multiplication of 5 into 10. And notice that there is no space between 10 and area. Why? Because I have not used a space here. So it is highly customizable. It totally depends upon us. Now if I press a space here, it is automatically saved in IntelliJ. I'll simply right click and run. Now I'll see the space here. So this is called simple concatenation. So we just defined two variables, length and width as 5 and 10, and this plus operator. Using this plus operator, we can concatenate as many strings as we want. And lastly, we can run our program only because of this main method. Okay, let's try to remove this method and see what happens. So I'll simply, okay, I'll select it. Let me just remove it. Okay, I've removed my main method now. Let me try to run this program. So firstly, I don't see any option to run. Those green icon is also gone. So what I'm trying to say is, if I'll remove this main method, which is my entry point of my Java program, Java is not going to allow to run my program. So I'll have to do Command Z. I'll get my main method again. Okay, so I again got this green method back. Okay, now let's switch to Eclipse and see what really happens if I try to do the same thing. So here's my Eclipse open. I'll simply remove this main method from here. Okay, before removing this main method, let me right click and see what I see. So this is run as and Java application. If I'll run my Java, okay, so this is my output. Now let me run this main method and see what happens. I'll do Command S to save. I click on run as. So see, there's no Java application option. So same option is available in Eclipse also. If I remove my main method, I'm not able to run my Java code. I'll do Command Z to get my method back. I'll have to save it, and that's it. So having the main method is essential in Java program, as I've demonstrated in both IntelliJ and Eclipse. So that's it for today's tutorial on methods in Java. We have covered the basics of defining and using methods, including methods with parameters, and we have seen how reusable methods can make our code more efficient and manageable. In my future videos, we'll explore more advanced topics like method overloading and recursion. Hope you have liked this particular video. Please like it if you found it valuable. This actually helps this video to rank higher as per the YouTube algorithm. And consider subscribing for more technical content, and stay tuned and happy learning Java in a well-structured way. Piyush Gupta, your virtual coach, signing off. Bye-bye.